You're listening to the Sea Bears podcast. Okay, so every day I watch the news, and every day I hear the same spiel.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So I have to ask myself, right? I mean, that's not what I learned. I've read the Constitution. In fact, I've read all of the founding documents. I've read the Declaration of Independence. I read the Articles of Confederation. I read the Constitution. I've read the Federalist Papers. I've even read the Anti-Federalist Papers. And in none of those does it say we're a democracy. Everything I read is that we are a constitutional republic. So which is it? And why are they telling us that we're a democracy? You can't swing a dead cat without somebody saying, we're a democracy. Trump is a danger to democracy. The conservatives are a danger to democracy. The Democrats are a danger to democracy. Free speech is a danger to democracy. What definition of democracy are we using here? Look, I can prove in under 10 seconds that the United States is not a democracy. Stand up, put your hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Pledge of Allegiance. We used to say this in school. Now, of course, it's a danger to our democracy if we should repeat the Pledge of Allegiance, probably because it points out the fact that we're not a democracy, we are a republic. So why are they keep pushing this narrative that we are a democracy? First, let me remind you people what a true democracy is. The picture you're seeing is a democracy. Mob rules, right? A democracy is majority rules under any and all circumstances. So here we see 3 wolves and a sheep voting for what's for dinner. They have a choice between grass or mutton. And the 3 wolves vote for mutton and the sheep votes for grass. Well, guess what? It's mutton for dinner in a democracy. We're not a democracy. And the only reason I can begin to believe why they are pushing the narrative that we are a democracy and not a constitutional republic is because they want mob rule. They want to destroy our Constitution so that we lose the constitutional protections that we have. If they can succeed in making people believe that the Constitution is irrelevant because we're a democracy and constitutions are not the supreme law of the land because we're a democracy, then you lose your constitutional protections. They're already pushing a narrative that we get our rights from the government and not from the Creator. And I'm going to go over the Declaration of Independence and in the immortal and wise words of Thomas Jefferson that our rights come from God. But they're trying to destroy the Constitution because the Constitution is the only thing keeping these power-hungry freaks in check. Okay, so let's get into this, right? Let's start talking about, the difference between a democracy and a constitutional republic. When we start talking about democracy and a constitutional republic, many people use these terms interchangeably. And while they are related, they are not the same thing. I kind of just went over a tidbit of it. But what people don't understand is that there is a difference. And this difference helps explain how governments balance majority rule versus individual rights. Okay? So, hypothetically, let's say that there's a proposal that all citizens pay a new tax, right? The votes counted. The yeses are 60%, the noes are 40%. The decision is passed. In a pure democracy, citizens vote directly on each law and policy. The majority dictates the outcome. If more than half support the idea, it becomes policy or law. It is the majority rule. It's also known as mob rule. Okay? So, in a democracy, it gives people a direct voice in government. It encourages participation and ensures leaders remain accountable to the public as a whole. Okay? But let's say there's another proposal. Should the minority group lose the right to speak publicly? We have an election. 50% or 55% say yes and 45% say no. The decision is passed. The minority group is now censored. So what happens when a majority votes to take away the rights of the minority? So in a pure democracy, majority rule alone may not always protect individual freedoms. If we were a pure democracy, women would never have been allowed to vote. The civil rights movement would never have taken place. There would have been no march in Selma, because the majority of the Americans could have easily squashed it. But yet, because we're a constitutional republic, it gave those minority groups, at the time, granted now women outnumber men, but at the time, those minority groups would have been silenced. But the constitutional republic gave them a voice. It gave them grounds to push for their equality. A constitutional republic combines representative government with a written constitution that limits government power and protects individual rights. A democracy has no such protections. It's mob rule. Instead of voting on every issue directly, citizens elect representatives to make the decisions on their behalf. Now, granted, our politicians are all crooks, right? This is something I've yet to figure out. You can go up to anybody on the street and ask them if a politician is honest or crooked. And I've never met one that said that they were honest. But yet, we entrust them with 60, 70% of our income in hope that they take care of us. This makes no sense to me. Anyway, moving on. Even if the majority supports a policy or a law, the Constitution protects. It prevents the government from violating fundamental rights of its citizens. That's the main difference, right? There is the Constitution that is holding everything in check. A democracy emphasizes majority rule. A constitutional republic emphasizes majority rule with constitutional boundaries. The United States incorporates democratic principles such as voting and representation, but is operating a constitutional republic that is governed by the Constitution and the rule of law. It is not mob rule. The goal is not simply to follow the will of the majority, but to protect the rights and freedoms of everyone while allowing citizens to govern themselves. We are a constitutional republic. Our leaders, we have leaders, Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. I can point to either side of the aisle, who are looking to destroy the Constitution because it limits their power and control. And they are pushing a narrative through social media and the mainstream media to brainwash people into believing that the Constitution is irrelevant, it is a dated document, and no longer has any relevance in today's society, that we need to do away with it because the government will never do anything to hurt the people, right? I hope that this short video illustrates the point that a democracy is not necessarily a good thing. It is mob rule. It is majority rule. And the minority groups will be shut down and silenced. And to put a final nail in the coffin, 3,000 years ago, the Phoenicians predicted that every democracy will always fail once the public realizes that they can vote the treasury into their own pocket. Look around. We have people who are using the safety nets as a hammock because they have realized that they, well, not necessarily them, but smart politicians have realized that they can buy their votes with this money and keep the, by playing up to the lazy nature of man, saying, hey, you never have to work. Just, vote for me, go out on the street, get all the homeless people to vote for me. Even with a ballot with a smiley face. Go look it up. And I will keep throwing money at you so you can stay at home smoking pot watching Price is Right. We need to stop this, and we need to stop the lies that we are a democracy. Anytime you guys hear that we are a democracy, please stand up for yourself. Stand up for our founding fathers and for the supreme law of the land, and correct them and say, no, we are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic, and the Constitution is the supreme law of the land that defends the weak, the downtrodden, and the minorities groups. Because if we don't, they're going to destroy that Constitution. They're going to destroy it. They're already working hard at it every single day. And while this sounds like a very trite point, they are chipping away at the foundation. They are chipping away at our belief that we have a constitutional republic by brainwashing the people into believing that we are a democracy and that mob rules. That's also why they're trying to do it with the Electoral College. And that's a discussion for another video. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is Sea Bear, out.